Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And before we get into previewing what happens in Week 12, let's recap what happened on Monday night between the Cowboys and the Las Vegas Raiders. This game was no contest. It was just no contest. The Raiders are really bad. They're really bad, but they've shown some good progress, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Dallas has not played great, losing 2 of their last 3 bowl games. They've just not been effective. They needed to win this game. And I said this to myself privately. I said, if the Cowboys don't play well on defense this year or in this game, they don't deserve to play defense. Period. They just don't deserve it. They just might as well let the other team just put 7 points on their scoreboard. They might as well just, after they score, after Dallas does nothing or does something on offense, just let the other team put 7 points on their side and give the ball back to the Cowboy offense. Because this defense has been so bad. Dallas and their new acquisitions, and they had 6 new faces in this game. They had 6 new faces playing who either are returning from an injury from earlier this year, haven't played a snap because of an injury, or they traded for it. The biggest additions being Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson. DeMarvion Overshown coming back, playing his first snaps after his devastating knee injury from a year ago. Savone Revel, who hasn't played down in the NFL because of. Then you had Devin Wilson, who's been out with a shoulder/elbow injuries, and Malik Hooker, who's been on injured reserve since September. So you had all these injuries. It was basically overhauling your defensive, just your whole defense. You brought in all these guys. It should look better. It should look better, and it did. They were great against the Raiders. Now, granted, the Raiders are so bad. The Raiders had one offensive starter on the offensive line playing. That was it. Everyone else, they couldn't protect Geno Smith. They got after him. The Cowboys had 5 sacks. Quinnen Williams had a sack and a half, which is a season high for him after only having 1 sack before going and joining the Cowboys. It was a good performance. They played really well. There was a couple plays that impressed me a lot. Kalen Carson was one of them, who he just hasn't played much. He was injured. He came back. He was primarily on special teams when he came back, and they gave him a chance. And I thought in the spot duty, because he was sharing reps with Savone Revel, he played very well. I thought he was very effective. He moved the ball well. He was efficient. Against what he was asked to do, he knew. He had confidence. He was going and playing great coverage. Even when he was giving up catches, he was making a tackle right away. He wasn't allowing the other players to really break tackles. And if he did, there was always a guy right around the corner that could clean up the tackle. So it was a good job by him. He did a good job. Savone Revel impressed me a lot too, not because of what he was able to do on the football field, even though he only played 31 snaps, and in a very small sample size, he played really well. He had a holding penalty. That was it. That was the one negative for him. I didn't realize how long he was. We saw on his thing, he was on his stats and everything. You look on his bio, he's 6'2". He weighs about 200 pounds lengthwise in terms of height, but you didn't realize how long his arms were. And I saw him, and they just showed, like, the camera was backing away from him, and you just saw in his arms along. You're like, holy cow! No wonder why people were like talking about this kid. I mean, you can't even get close to him. You can't get, as a receiver, you're trying to create separation, but the only way to really do it is you have to run into the guy basically and then try to break off and create separation. You can't do that because he can cover everything. He looks really comfortable. Again, outside of that holding penalty, he looked really comfortable. Again, small sample size, but he looked comfortable in the duty he was playing. I think Quinn Williams was on a mission. He was playing great. He had 7 hits on the quarterback. He had a tackle for a loss. He had a sack and a half. He was destroying everything. So a great game by those guys. Don't overthink it. This was the Raiders, but you did a great job on defense and offense. Look, they ran the ball well. Dak was efficient outside of the fumble, which we'll get into that in a second. I thought the offensive line played really well. They really didn't let Max Crosby beat him. They chipped him in so many different ways. I like the creativity in the way they chipped him. They had a play where they threw a touchdown to, I think it was George Pickens on that play. And they basically stuck Crosby on Jake Ferguson, and he takes Crosby wide. So Crosby has to go wide, and then they send Tyler Smith, the left guard, over and chip. So after he gets through Jake Ferguson, he kind of gets hip checked by Tyler Smith. It gives Dak Prescott the time. It was a really creative way to do it. I've never actually seen it done that way, but it was creative. They basically, after that sack, took Crosby out of the game. He couldn't really do much anything. So great performance by them and the way the offensive line played. I do want to talk about the situation at hand, though. So you're coming off a tragic loss to the organization, Marshawn Nealon, who all the players wore a Marshawn Nealon decal on the back of their helmet and a shirt that had Marshawn Nealon on it, which I love that the NFL allowed them to do it. To basically explain it is you can't wear a shirt that the NFL doesn't approve of. They have to approve it. So I was happy the NFL approved this. It was a good message. It needed to happen. I liked what the Raiders did also. It was a good message. But it's not so much about Marshawn kneeling. It was more like how Brian Schottenheimer, the head coach, went and was able to get these players ready to play the game and play the game the way he did. And like that was really important. And then on top of all that, you had what was going on with Pickens and Lamb, which I can't tell you what happened exactly because I don't think anyone knows outside of the team, which impresses me in a way. I have to admit that they impressed me. They really did. They impressed me a lot. The way they operated impressed me was. So let me explain what happened here. They impressed me by. It started about a year and a half ago. They won't tell you exactly what's happening, which is actually impressive in my opinion, because this is a Cowboys team that has said everything they're going to do. They telegraph everything to the point they lose position, they lose draft picks, they lose everything because they tell people what they're going to do. So I'll give you a great example. When they traded away Amari Cooper, they said, "Oh, we're going to trade him, or if we can get something, we'll trade him. If we can't, we'll just cut him." Well, when you tell that to the media and they find that out, teams are not going to trade or they're going to offer less because they know you're going to cut him. That's what so they ended up only getting so much for him. If they wouldn't have said anything, they would have gone way more. That's what they would have done. So I was impressed by the way they did it. They didn't say anything about Pickens and Lamb. Jerry Jones, who says everything, said, it was meetings and stuff. Or meeting stuff is basically how he said it. Brian Schottenheimer said it was a multiple things. And that was kind of left where it was. And then they asked Lamb and Pickens about it at different places. And they didn't. Pickens went around the question, and Lamb said, "I'm not going to answer that." That's private. I'm not going to answer that. My assumption is they broke curfew and they got caught. That's my assumption. I know a couple people have said, well, it was Vegas, so they were gambling. I can't tell you what they were doing. I don't know. But I can tell you the way Schottenheimer handled it, I thought was smart. Because even though it was a situation and there was a lot going on top of or inside of a much bigger situation that they were in, and then having to play a football game on top of that they desperately needed to go and say, no, I'm gonna go and bench my two starters for the first series of the game, and I don't care what happens. Because the Cowboys end up fumbling, it's recovered by the Raiders get points out of it, now the Cowboys are down. But it was a coaching choice, and that was how it was left. I don't think we'll ever know what happened, but I will tell you this. It was a smart decision because those players responded to it when they got on the field. When Pickens and Lamb got on the field, Pickens had over 100 yards on 9 catches. Lamb had a touchdown and Pickens had a touchdown, and they couldn't tackle them. They couldn't stop them. That was how good of a performance it was. I liked what they did. I also approve of what Brian Schottenheimer did. I was not a fan when the decision was made that they're going to hire Brian Schottenheimer as a head coach. But every time I see a situation like this, he's approaching it the right way. He's handling it all the correct way. So I approve of that. I approve of what he's been doing. I've completely changed my tune on that situation. I thought he's done a good job in the position he's been put in and how he's been handling it. Because handling the Marshawn Kneeland stuff, handling already what is the Cowboys head coaching job, which is always a hot seat, and now having to handle what George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb did, and he's been doing it a great job and doing such a great job at it. It's impressing me, and that's something that's not quite easily done. Before we jump, I want to go to the Raiders for 1 second. I did not like the Raiders' game plan. What were they doing? Dallas can't stop a run, and you only ran it, let's see, I think it was 14 times. And I think if we exclude the 3 or 4 runs by Geno, it was like 10, 11 times. That was it. They couldn't do anything. And it was like Geno had a 1-yard run. He had I think, a couple-yard run on his first run that he had. And then his last run, which was going into the fourth quarter, before the fourth quarter, he had like a 5 or 6-yard run to extend the drive. If you take all that away, so let's say that was, I don't know, 8 yards. They had 27, 28 yards. That would have been Raheem Mostert and Ashton Genty would have a total of 20 yards. That's terrible. They were pass happy. They turned the ball over. Tipped interception, I know. Can't blame Geno on that exactly. But 20 yards on the ground. There needs to be changes. It's not just Geno, even though you put a lot of blame on him. The offensive line has been bad. I know they're injured. But this defense, who has been playing better, was very disappointing. Okay, let's jump to the Jamar Chase news before we jump into week 12. Because this is directly associated. Jamar Chase, suspension, suffered it. This happened on, I believe it was Monday. The NFL decided to suspend Jamar Chase. This is directly tied to the Jalen Ramsey ejection. If you've been living under a rock, I'll quickly explain it. Ramsey got ejected because he punched Jamar Chase. He punched him in the face and he got ejected. Ramsey said the reason he reacted the way he did was because Jamar Chase spit at him, which was later confirmed. Now, prior to it being later confirmed by it being on television, of course, Jamar Chase said, no, I did not spit at him. I did not. The NFL saw the evidence and said, no, you did, and therefore we're suspending you. You're not going to disrespect the player. Chase appealed it. He went to basically the NFL's version of kangaroo court because it's a jointly appointed judge by the NFL and the NFLPA who decided that no, the suspension was valid. We are not going to tolerate this. So Jamar Chase is suspended. Whether he agrees with it or not, that's exactly what happened. Again, I'm not a fan of just making everything a suspension. I think some of them should be fines, especially if it's just trash talk that might have gotten too far. I think that's a fine, not really a suspension. But this cannot be tolerated. You cannot disrespect a player by spitting at it. That's just you can't do that. We've already seen this. We know how it ends. It was rightfully done. So I applaud the NFL doing it. But if it's just a suspension system and there's no fine system, I do think we need to correct that. And if it is also a suspension and fine system, they need to make the fines a little more likely than just direct suspension. That's just my opinion, but I think that needs to be done. Okay, moving on to week 12, as we're 16 minutes into the video. The New England Patriots at the Cincinnati Bengals. That Jamar Chase isn't playing, so it's T. Higgins, Joe Flacco. The Patriots are playing great football. I have the Patriots winning, even though the Bengals are getting the Patriots are favored by +8 or by 8, excuse me. The Bengals are getting +8, so that means the Patriots are favored. That's what that means. And I have the Patriots winning. I just don't see how the Bengals are going to stop them. The Bengals defense has been horrible. They offense, no Jamar Chase. It's going to be T. Higgins. This offensive line is terrible. You got to build this team. And I don't know if it's Zach Taylor or not. I don't exactly know what the logic is of keeping him around. But if they do keep him around, you got to find a way to build it. It can't just be draft. You have to spend in free agency. You have to spend in free agency because it can't just be defensively led by Trey Hendrickson. Because even he's not played as great. He's missed a lot of time, and this team isn't very good. Needs to be talked about. They got to fix this, period, because they have so many issues. And offensive line, if I'm Joe Burrow, I'm not exactly rushing back. This team is not very good. It's not good. I don't like this offensive line. So give me the Patriots to win in a strangely confusing game because I think the Bengals will still put up points. 28-24. Moving to the Bills and Texans game, which is actually a Thursday night game. Texans are getting +6. CJ Stroud was ruled out, hasn't passed concussion protocol. Mecole Hardman, Dalton Kincaid, and Curtis Samuel have been ruled out for the Bills. Bills are favored by 6. So I got the Bills winning. I like the Texans defense. And Davis Mills has actually done pretty well as the starter in the relief for CJ Stroud. But when you have Josh Allen on that side of the ball, I'm going to take Josh Allen every time. But it's going to be a weird game, 28-20, 28-20, but there's going to be a lot of questions about this Bills defense still. Moving on to the Colts and Chiefs. I had a comment on Monday's video. I actually answered it, which I do answer comments that I feel are justified. And a person said, Broncos didn't stun anybody. They were favored in the game. They were not. I write everything down. I have it on a piece of paper like this. And I actually re-looked it up. The Chiefs were favored by 3.5 and in some places 4.5, which I don't understand why Vegas is doing. They're favored again here against the Colts. I don't get why. But that's the reason I used the term stun. I didn't use it as it was an actual stun. It was stunning to see. It was more of Vegas made weird odds and the Broncos beat the odds. Literally beat the odds. in the case of Vegas, literally beat the odds. But again, like the Chiefs are favored in this game against the Colts by 3.5. I don't know why. The Colts are a really good team. They run the ball well. I think they're more balanced than the Broncos are personally, and the Colts have played great. I think Daniel Jones has played really well. And I don't know if Pacheco is going to play in this game for the Chiefs because of short week, having to play on Thanksgiving. I could see him just try to get him ready for Thanksgiving, even though that too is a little tight. Give me the Colts because they're so balanced. And I think that's a great job by Steichen, knowing that the best year under Daniel Jones that Daniel Jones had was him when they ran the football. When he was the best version of himself, when he was with the Giants, they ran the ball with Saquon all the time. And then they had Daniel Jones make a couple plays in the game. Now he's an older quarterback. He's able to make those plays a little more often, but they still need to be led by the run game. The Colts have Jonathan Taylor. This works. And then you got great receivers. You got a great offense. Your defense has been playing really well. Give me the Colts to win. 28-21. Moving on to the Giants and Lions. Lions favored by 10.5. I think the Lions just steamroll the Giants. Whoever is the quarterback, Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, could be anybody. Could be you, could be me, it could be anybody. I don't think the Giants have a chance in this game. I just don't. I don't like how they played. I don't like what the Lions did on Sunday night against. I don't like their game plan. I didn't like the play calling. But their defense looked really good. This Giants team did it. It gave Packers fits, but I think that's more just saying how bad the Packers are at times. The Giants, I don't like what they do. They're not a great run team. They're not a great passing team. Like they're betting on the two tight ends and Bellinger leading that way, and I don't like it. I don't like it. So give me the Lions to win 40-10. I have a similar score for the Jets and Ravens too, even though the Jets are it's gonna be plus 13.5 for the Jets, who are led by Tyrod Taylor, by the way. They decided to bench Justin Fields. Lamar Jackson's playing this game, giving the Ravens. It's not even close because as bad as the Jets have been, and I said this a couple weeks ago, I said that the Jets do not have to draft a quarterback. Remember when I said that? I said they have too many issues. Yeah, now that you made this move and the way you've made this move, and the fact that even that they aren't asking Justin to even throw the football and it's still not working, yeah, it's time to draft a quarterback. I'm going to relinquish that statement very quickly because and you have so many needs. You can't use just the draft. You got to be a free agent team. Go sign free agents. Go try to build that way. And the question does need to be asked: do you use your first round pick on a quarterback, or do you wait until the Colts' first round pick that you received in the Sauce Gardner trade to use that on a quarterback? Because you do have so many issues, what do you do first? And what do you try to go get? That's my question here. But I do have the Ravens winning. Same score as the Lions Giants game, 40-10. And final game, Eagles at Cowboys. Eagles are favored in this game by 3.5. It's plus 3.5 for the Cowboys. It's just let's see what happens in this game. This game, again, rivalry games don't make sense. They don't make sense. You say this team is out of it. This team is out of it, and then all of a sudden the other team wins somehow. The team that's the underdog wins, and then they play great, and the next thing you know, they are terrible the next week, or they get on a roll and stuff happens. You can't explain what happened. You can't. You can watch the game. You can watch the game 10 times over, and you can't understand what happened. The Eagles' offense has not been great. It wasn't great against the Lions. It was great testament by the Lions defense. They did a great job. But the Eagles offense has been struggling. They tried to throw the ball more to A.J. Brown. He got the ball more. He caught more passes, but they still struggled. They couldn't really run the football, even though Saquon had 70 yards rushing, which is better than his league average this year. They had more success with Tank Bigsby. I'm actually kind of surprised they don't run him more. They ran Jalen Hurts more, so they're starting to do that. That's good. I think if Dallas wants any chance, they gotta try to win defensively. They gotta be great as a defensive line. You had great performance. The best performance I think they had, and I was talking about who impressed me, who impressed me, who impressed me. I think what impressed me so much about the Cowboys was when they played the Raiders. Their entire defensive line, whether or not we can say this is because they played really well or the Raiders played so terrible, it's probably the second thing more than the first thing. But the D tackles had each either half a sack or an entire sack by themselves. Kenny Clark had half a sack. Quentin Williams had a sack and a half. Oso Odigizua had a sack. If you get that level in the interior against this Eagles team, which again, we talked about Cam Jurgens' injury. We don't know if he's going to play. Lane Johnson looks like he's going to be out with a Liz Frank injury, so Fred Johnson's going to play. It looks like. So you can win in that game. If your defensive line can negate the Eagles' offensive line, the way the Lions did it, because you don't have a DJ Reader, but you have a Quinnen Williams. If that works for you, and then the where the Lions played the Eagles, where they just played man coverage, and you have better corners, in my opinion, than Rockinson and Amik Robinson, even though they're playing out of their mind. They're playing really good. I think you can play aggressive with this Eagles team. I think you can go and say, we're going to play man on man. We're going to play one on one. We're going to go right back and forth with each other. And if we can do that and play physical, we're going to go and win this game. You just have to have that mentality. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried the rookie on A.J. Brown. I would not be shocked by it. You got to negate Saquon. You got to negate this offensive line. And limit the runs of Jalen Hurts and Tank Bigsby. If you do those things, and then like the Cowboys showed the last time they played this Eagles team, which was first game of the year, I know that they stopped the run of Saquon, and the Eagles didn't have Bigsby at the time. But Jalen Hurts is what killed them on the ground. Hurts had 2 touchdowns in that game, if you remember. If the Cowboys can figure out a way to stop the run from Barkley, from Bigsby, and then Hurts doesn't have everywhere to scramble, you will have the opportunity to go be successful. And I think that gives you the best chance to win from a defensive perspective. From an offensive perspective, I think the best chance you have to win is, first of all, do not attack Quinyon Mitchell. I don't understand why the Packers and Lions have done that so much. I don't get it. Okay, the following St. Brown, why are we not throwing the ball more to Jamison Williams? Why are we not targeting Adoree Jackson? Why are we not targeting when Bennett is on the field? Why are we not doing those things? Why are we not doing that? Like I don't understand that. I think you are I think both sides in terms of the receivers are very physical receivers, so I'm kind of interested to see what happens there. And I think if your offensive line, who is going against a really good Eagles defensive line, who Jalen Phillips has been great, Jalen Carter has been Jalen Carter, he's been awesome. Jordan Davis has been a bright spot. You have to say that. He's been really well. He's been playing awesome. You got to be able to play that kind of style. Play physical. Go and try to run the football, even though the Lions really couldn't against them. If you can do that, go be successful. Go run the football. Go do what you got to do. You have a chance to win the game. And again, like I said, divisional games are weird. They don't make sense to anybody. I told you in the beginning of the year the Cowboys were going to split with the Eagles. I still believe that's going to happen. I still believe it's going to be the same score. I have the Cowboys winning 28-24 this time around. But I do think they will target George Pickens more because they're going to try to get George Pickens on Adoree Jackson. If they can't do that, they're going to have CeeDee Lamb on Adoree Jackson. They're just going to basically attack Adoree Jackson. And if they can do that, they will definitely win this game. That's my personal opinion. They're going to force somebody to double team. And once they do that, they're going to exploit it. I would not be shocked if the Eagles decide, well, double teaming this receiver with Adoree Jackson and a safety, and we're going to just try to go one-on-one with whomever is over there against Quinyon Mitchell. They might do that too. But then if you're Dallas, you have to have an answer to that as well. So we'll see what happens. But I have the Cowboys winning 28-24. Crazy things happen. I don't know how, but every time the Cowboys play the Eagles, always a strange thing happens. It's not explainable. I don't know how to explain it. Give me the Cowboys to win 28-24. Before we go, I want to say this quickly. Shedeur Sanders is expected to get his first NFL start this weekend. So we'll see what he can do. I think they were just tired of Dylan Gabriel entirely. So give him a shot. Why not? Your season's already lost. See what you can do. But let me know in the comments who you have winning this week. And also, did Jamar Chase deserve being suspended and missing the game against the New England Patriots? For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.